Don't forget to announce.
There we go. Now that should actually be it should be live in a second now. But yeah, I'll also announce it. Um Greetings and welcome. I am Joffrey, and today yeah, geez, my throat is feeling a lot better right now. That's nice. But today I am not as sick as I have been, and I am joined by Darkest Light and Vector Maximus, and we are discussing Conquest. We know more or less the broad strokes of how war works now, but now we shall be figuring out how the actual declarations and perhaps peace deals, we'll see, works. I know it's about conquest and coring. Main, those are the big things I know. Um, so we'll find out how cores work. I imagine it's mostly the same as it was before. Hmm. And yes, now it is announced. All right. So, the Cornish will have a core on Venice. It's always you and the Cornish going someplace. Always you. Whether it's Venice, Sicily, or I think Byzantium was another example. Aha! Gemalt knows now. I've got everyone paranoid. Like, okay, Joffrey keeps starting it earlier. It says it's going to be this time, but I'm sorry. I don't know. Like, we just showed up early and started rambling about other stuff. So decided it was time to go. All right. Today we're talking about how Conquest works and how integrating the new locations you have conquered will work. With Conquest, we're talking about how you will take territory through warfare. For how the actual military campaigns work, recommended reading Tinto Talks 22, 3, and 4. Afternoon rain. Nice to see you. See, I saved my voice so I can talk now from the earlier stream. I mean, I was never joking about Grand Cornish Empire. Yeah, you shouldn't either. It's the dream is real. Casus belli. All right, well, how do CBs work? Probably not too different, but we'll see. To start a war, many feel that you need a casus belli for it, which we will refer to a CB for the rest of this talk. If you lack a CB and start a war, you will gain some aggressive expansion and lose some stability. Now, while this may not be something you may always want, it is a more lenient way to recover instead of spending precious paper mana like in EU4. However, there are multiple ways to get a CB in this game. Wonderful. Yes. You get because in EU4 you do get the just aggressive expansion and aggressive expansion, war exhaustion, and stab loss for doing no CB wars. But here, I doubt that those will be as punishing. Yes. Hmm. Could have special military operations. Yes, I suppose so. And here, this is what my theory was. Yeah, remember all the way back, Dark, when we were talking about the things that the different focuses let you do, and how the fabricate claim was something they listed as something that you only get if you or that you can get early, I guess maybe you can unlock this later, but it says that if you diplo focus in the first age, then you unlock a tech that will let you fabricate claims. So yeah, I guess that really is a case of you can't do that unless you do that focus. It's interesting. You have to do more
Cannot
CBs.
just do that.
You can't just fabricate the claim.
This
I
is
do
so
like
sad.
this. No, this is good. You be
How
quiet.
much you? I'm willing to bet. Franco would not be happy about that.
No, but I'm sorry. He might just have to deal with the fact that diplomacy is actually going to be useful for something other than spending it on development,
Mm-hmm.
production dev.
Mm-hmm.
Oops. Maybe you actually want to do a diplomatic focus so that you can get extra diplomatic capacity and fabricate claims and other things, better vassals that they can make
Brooding,
marches.
it will get worse for him.
Specifically worse for him.
Worse for all the would-be blobbers.
Yes.
I prefer this, yes.
I genuinely think, I know this is a strange thought, but my personal opinion, I suspect that diplomacy focus is going to be the best thing for if you want to blob early, because it will allow you to have more vassals, make those vassals better, and it will allow you to declare wars without as much aggressive expansion and keep all these people loyal to you. So you'll have bad control early game, so you'll need more vassals. And if you can actually fabricate the claims, then you can declare more wars. So that's my complicated way of saying, I think it's actually going to be the better way of like going big, like really wide. Admins, you're tall. Diplos, you're wide. And then military is if you just need the edge to win. But anyway, first of all, there is the super old school way of getting one from an event. This may not cater to everyone's playing style, as it is way too random, but if it was good enough for your parents back in 2001, it's good enough for... never mind. Okay, I'm, I'm not that much of a baby. Oh, I swear. Secondly, we have the option of calling a parliament and asking them to come up with a valid reason for war against a nearby country. Oh,
This
okay.
gives a very funny image in my head of like the King of England calling Parliament and being, I need a reason to punch the Scottish in the face. What we got?
Oh my god, guys, come on.
I need people.
Sift through all our documents. There needs to be some justifiable reason for us to go beat up the Scots. I imagine that not all of those CBs would actually be for conquest, though, is the thing. But sorry, continuing along. Finishing this paragraph at least. This is powerful, but unless you have high crown power, you may need to negotiate with your estates for their backing. And parliaments cannot be called for every month either. Democracy is not even invented yet.
Ancient Athens would like to disagree, but I get Johann's point.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, they're not saying specifically what types of CBs you'd get from this, but I doubt it would be as common, and I really hope
has more. Or
Okay.
not next chapter, next paragraph.
Okay. I just saying, I really hope it's not common for you to be able to ask your parliament and then just being able to be like, here's a claim, now you can go attack them. I hope that's rare for you to just get free claims from your parliament. Archaic democracy exists, yeah, but it's not really around anymore, as Vector is saying. And no, I'm not ready to have people name their generals Skibbity. I will never be prepared. So you get random claims on bordering provinces, right? Yeah, Rain, that's exactly what I hope that does not happen from you talking to your parliament, where the burghers are just like, listen.
I imagine that'll be more of a random event rather than the parliament.
Yeah. I want that to be your classic border conflict event, where it's like, hey, listen, who really owns this?
They're damaging us. They're damaging our land.
Your Cossacks are being a pain. Now we're gonna take them. All right. Finally, we have the way of creating a CB. There is a more or less legitimate way, of course. First of all, creating a CB on a country requires you to have a spy network in the target country, similar to how fabrication works in EU4. But you also need to have some sort of reason to create the type of CB you want. Ooh, okay. So let's say you play Denmark and want to take back Skåne. 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 from Sweden, as you have cores on it. Then you can create a proper core CB on them. So even if you have cores on them, you don't just have the
You
CB
don't
for free.
just get one. Yep.
You have to fabricate. No, not fabricate. You have to create it. Is the point? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You need to spy on them. You need to spy a network on them to create the justification for it. Yeah. Huh. How does this? If you play, yeah. Or if they have used privateers in sea zones where you have a maritime presence, you can create another CB on them. There are 50 plus different CBs you can create depending on circumstances, including everything from flower wars for countries with Nahuatl religion to dissolving the Tatar yoke for the tributaries under the international organization of the same name, or humiliating rivals. Hmm. Oh, First Crusade against Lithuania. Oh boy. Bohemia versus Poland. This is an odd selection of countries to be the
Interface,
leaders
yeah.
of this war. Poland? Huh? Is this the Game Start War? Is Bohemia in that Game Start War against
I don't believe
Poland and
so.
Lithuania?
No, I think that's just for testing and
I
showing.
guess. Yeah. Charles the First moment. Give you claims, but stop taxing us. Yeah. Uh, hello, Armas. We do have an image, yeah, of the war, but I don't know whether Bohemia is involved in that. I didn't think they were. I thought it's just the knights. But 31 allies and subjects for Bohemia. Hmm. Huh. That's a good point. Bohemia has a lot of subjects, but not that many. This is a very interesting implication. Huh. Just remember, no CB is best CB. But yeah, there's a lot of Silesian OPMs, but a lot of Silesian OPMs doesn't equate to even half of this number. The Silesians are like, there's like 8 countries in Silesia, maybe? That doesn't explain this. Oh, you're right. The Teutons and Livonians also have a bunch of subjects. Hmm. Yeah, if you take that all together and then include, okay, okay, maybe that does add up. It's just the fact that he's giving this makes me wonder if there's something deeper they're hinting at here in relation to people joining wars. In any case, it's the other way around. The Livonians start as a subject of the Teutons. The Teutons are the ones in charge. War goals. Whether you decide that a small border adjustment is needed or wish to wage a total war, you need to pick which war goal you wish to pursue. Different CBs will allow you to pick different war goals, and the goal you pick impacts the cost of conquest as well. A Conquer CB will make taking land cheaper, while a Humiliation CB will make them more expensive. Oh, so you can still take land. It's not a case anymore where you are saying that, yeah, we're here to humiliate these people, and now you literally can't take any land. Hmm.
Yeah, it just affects the costs, which thank God.
Yeah. It's a little more free form now, but your decisions are still important. I like that. Though this also implies that if you've fabricated, I also think this is interesting because it means that even if you've justified a war on someone on the basis of they they insulted me. Even it just being like they are dicks to me. You could use the fact that they insulted you as a justification to attack and still take land from it. It would just be more expensive. That's interesting. I think that this is going to make it a lot more thought provoking when you're trying to figure out how you're going to conquer stuff. Expand your realm. Maybe it's more common for you to be able to just subjugate people. Maybe that's less difficult. But I don't know. Yeah, Bohemia famously instantly starts fighting Christian Poland because they're in the way. They're in the way of them crusading the Lithuanians. And remember everyone, Lithuania, pagan Lithuania run, Joffrey's first game. Remember that. It's important. First game.
Of course.
Day one.
Dark, do you have it written down?
Of course.
War goal for a province requires you to occupy that entire province, while a naval superiority war goal will give you a bonus score for blockading the enemy and defeating their navy if possible. Okay? So actually, yeah, fight at sea to get the war goal. That makes sense. If your war goal is fulfilled, then the war score from it ticks up to a maximum of 25, and the total impact from battles can be worth up to 50. Yeah, this is nothing unusual. Well, occupation and blockades have no cap. No cap. Blockades, no cap. Dab. You can reach over 100 war score. Yeah. Do you know if there's different levels of vassals? There's different types of vassals, but I don't think that we know enough about subjects to know if they run on the more modern system that Paradox has been using of like increasing and decreasing autonomy. I would like that, but at the same time, I'm not sure how important that is. Because we know that marches are a type of thing. Because again, I'm a diplomacy guy in Paradox games. I like diplomacy. So I noticed that one of the things that if you pick a Diplo focus in the first age, you unlock the ability to make marches. If you don't pick that, you're not going to be able to make marches. That's a different type of vassal, but we don't know what that means. We don't know whether that's the same as EU4, where you can take just vassal and then give them march status, and then it's like, well, now you can't annex these guys, and you need to spend stability to decrease the. Yeah. I do kind of like the idea, as you're saying. Yeah, you're saying you like the idea of different levels of vassalization. It is neat to think about that, especially with the context of diplo-vassalizing. For me, Ryan, the idea that you might be able to convince someone. It was like when you diplomatically get someone to become your vassal, it would be at the softest tier first. The most just like, oh yeah, protectorate status, whatever the hell. If that's a thing, but I don't know. It seems a little complicated, but this game has a lot of complicated stuff. Maybe there will be a dev diary that's just all about vassals. We'll see. In Project Caesar, therefore, not every war is necessarily a total war, like some previous games we've made. So, I don't know. Total war, I guess. Meaning, like when you declare a conquest war, a conquest/reconquest war in EU4, where it's just all or nothing. If the war goal is not fulfilled, it's only possible to get 100% war score if the winning side controls all of the losing side's locations. And the losing side controls no towns or cities. Yeah, that would be tedious as heck. That means that if you have your war goal taken care of, winning some important battles and occupying some land, you'll be able to force a reasonable peace deal on someone. So this is now that I'm replaying this through my head, talking about Dark. It said like yes, likes things. I know we had just talked about devastation in last week. And how it's like, damn, you really just think that this game is gonna really incentivize cutting your losses when things aren't going your way. This is gonna make it even more so because if you have someone's declared war on you for a fucking insult war, and you got your levies smashed and your border forts are being taken, and your land is starting to get pillaged. It's like, no, just please, all right, humiliate me. I don't care. Like, take the border fort. Just please don't ravage my heartlands. I can't afford that kind of thing. I could very much see that being the case, though I'm curious how the AI will handle it. But yes, Rain, in my Rain, in my opinion, I would like if it's more common for people to use weird peace deal I can imagine something like Rain where I don't know, you're playing as France and someone, let's say Flanders is independent. They're not in the HRE either. Flanders starts as your subject, but they're going to become independent shortly after game start, probably. But anyway, the point is that sort of situation. Your powerful realm, there's a small shitter next to you. I like the idea of situations where they've done something to you that gives you the ability to CB them. Like they insult you, I don't know, they mess with your trade, whatever. And you're able to fabricate or construct. Yep, you can construct a CB on them. And it's not a CB of conquest, but you're still able to then vassalize them. And that would be the preferable option if you're wanting to conquer them instead of trying to like grab little bits that are really and making really expensive. But I don't know. I'll have to say. That sort of thing is interesting to me though. I hope you can change war goals or ask more in peace deals. Well, we know right now, they just said that what you pick your war goal is. So I don't think there's going to be any changing. I think it's going to be a case of just like in EU4, you pick a war goal and you stick with that war goal. You can't change it midway through. But unlike in Vic, it's not a case of literally every single objective that you want to take is the war goal. And if you fail to meet any of those requirements, then you're losing the war. And you can only do all or nothing with that. I think it's a case of because they've said it just changes how expensive certain things are. So if you're doing a core, you're doing a war to like retake land, then it's cheaper to conquer stuff, cheaper to reconquer stuff. That is specifically probably not cheap to actually conquer things. Cheaper to conquer things, probably neutral to conquer things, cheap to reconquer things, and then more expensive to do things like humiliating people. Meanwhile, if you're doing a war to insult, like because someone insulted you and you're like, I'm gonna humiliate them, show strength, kind of, whatever the peace deals you've got are. I think that it's a case of, again, it'll make those diplomatic things cheaper, but yet it makes conquering stuff more expensive, but you have the option. So yeah, I think this looks good so far. Yeah. Now continuing along. Yeah, and as Jadal was saying, yeah. Total War is another franchise. Silly Johan.
Silly
Yep.
Johan.
It's his goal. He doesn't want us to think this is Total War. Yeah. If the war goal is not fulfilled, yep. Yep. Is that all that? Independence of Calpe. This is the war goal. The war goal is independence of Calpe, whatever Calpe is. This flag, I guess, is the flag of Calpe. Impacts of current war goal target. Conquer cost for attacker minus 25%. So no modifying stuff. It doesn't actually do anything related to diplomatic actions. That's interesting. It's just for things related to conquest that it makes things cheaper. Okay. So if you... And interesting here that when you're in an independence war, if you're fighting an independence war, it's actually cheaper for you to conquer stuff at the same time. That's not too surprising. Fair enough. I think...
That's actually a good point. I think the one declaring independence is the defender, I suppose, or like they are resisting annexation. And so the aggressor would be the overlord.
You're right. You're right. You're, the target is Calpe. So an independence war makes the target. The war goal is the declaration of independence for Calpe. Okay.
That's a bit funky, but I guess I understand why.
Yeah, I think what this is trying to tell us, as confusing as it is, especially we just don't have our hands on the code. But I'm pretty sure what this is telling us is that because Calpe is declaring independence, and you aren't letting them do that, you're attacking them. Whoever is the overlord, yeah, which is probably how it should be handled. Because if someone declares independence, it's the overlord's job to show up and stop them. If you just let them sit there, then, well, I guess you've let them go. Integration. So what do you do then when you've signed a peace and got some new land in your country? First of all, it's not as simple as a location being a core or not, as Project Caesar introduces a new system of integration for locations. Okay. There are 4 states of integration in this game. First of all, the conquered locations have a high separatism, lower control, and make pops unlikely to convert or assimilate. Makes sense? Yeah. This is the state of any location you conquer that is not a core of yours. And when a location becomes integrated, separatism drops to 1/5 of the previous levels, and control has a higher maximum. Oh. Interesting. So separatism stays as like a consistent value for a while, I guess. It works differently than it does in EU4. Because the fact that they're saying it drops to 1/5 of the previous levels when you integrate something. The control has a higher maximum. Yep. When the location becomes a core, the minimum control is higher and your primary and accepted cultures grow more, while minorities become stagnant. While also having the colonized status, which is after you have colonized a location, it is not yet a core. A colonized location has lower maximum control. Makes sense? Makes sense? Primary accepted cultures grow more. Yeah, so yeah, you're not really converting much stuff in an unintegrated land, but once you've integrated it, you're going to start to be able to assimilate people and convert. That makes sense. What is separatism then? Ah, good. Explain, please. It is the reduction of satisfaction. The reduction of satisfaction for pops that are not of the primary culture. This is very likely to make the locations very unproductive for quite some time. A location becomes a core automatically if it's integrated or colonial, and at least 50% of the pops are of the primary or an accepted culture of that country. Oh.
Yeah, no button to push to call a province.
Oh, wow. Core of Scania, max control goes up, monthly control, only primary and accepted growth. An owner gets vision when occupied. Oh, non-cores don't give you vision when they're occupied. Okay, this is all so interesting. How the heck? So automatically, core automatically, if it's integrated or colonial, and at least 50% of the pops, but how do you integrate? Where did it say integration? When a location becomes integrated, higher lower pops. Location. Yeah, they're not explaining how you make something integrated because there's unintegrated, integrated, colonial, and cores, but they're not explaining yet. They haven't yet explained how you get something from unintegrated to integrated.
I believe they discussed that.
I'm sure they will. It's just good. Well, I'm sorry, Ryan. The Joff man likes to just ramble about stuff that he's about to get told anyway. It wouldn't be a proper Joff man stream if he was not just being like, "Oh, damn! If only we knew this thing 5 seconds before he found out the answer."
Yeah, it's because he wants to run up the clock so that he can, I don't know, sell to advertisers or something.
Mm-hmm. The famously lucrative 2-hour-long streams. Yes.
Making the big bucks.
And I always, of course.
Are you earned enough to pay for roads of power yet?
I am also well known for adding mid-roll ads, of course. Trust.
This live stream has been sponsored by...
Speaking of mid-roll ads. Okay. So, now we'll find out, Ryan. How do you integrate a location then? Well, this is the challenge in Project Season. I'm very curious how this works, man. As you do not have any magic paper mana to spend on it, but instead you need to use one of the members of your cabinet to integrate it. Ooh, okay. At the start of the game, a cabinet member can integrate an entire province at once, but in the Age of Absolutism, you have an advance that lets you integrate an entire area at once. Wow. That becomes big. But it's really late game. But still, that's very interesting.
The next paragraph and you'll understand.
This integration is not instant, but depends on many factors like the status and the population living in the locations affected. But on average, integrating a province may take between 25 and 50 years. On average, yeah. I imagine that that's modified by number of people living there and how much they hate you.
Like if you're Sweden conquering Swedes, the integration is probably quite fast. But
yeah, because those are
conquering Russians, it's probably quite slow.
Because they're Catholic as well. They're also Catholic. They're also your culture, and they're also low population regions. So that's probably that's when you get below the 25 by a good margin. Then I'm guessing we approach something. I'm just speculating. I'd be like 10 years. Be like, I imagine 10 or less at that point. Battles war score you filled in the late game with Napoleonic shenanigans should go to a max of 75. I could see that, but at the same time, 50%. It's like giving you 50%, and then you're going to be able to siege down fortresses so easily later in the game. Even really good fortresses are going to be so easy to knock down. I mean,
Yeah, remember
it
that
base.
there's even an advance to ignore zone of control in the
Yeah.
Napoleonic Age.
So I think that the game kind of just simulates that on its own with the fact that if you've won the battles, you've won the war already. Because like in the Middle Ages, it's like, well, you lost the battle, but like if you really want to keep fighting the war, you can hide in your own lands and recoup for a while they try and siege the fortress. But in the Napoleonic era, they beat your ass and then they chase you all the way to your capital. So, so yeah. All right. But this is good. Yeah, long. It takes a long time to integrate stuff, and if you're conquering vast amounts of land, it'll take a long time for that to you to even get integrated. And then once it's integrated, it'll reduce the separatism by a good amount. It'll become a lot smaller, but it still has separatism, and it's going to stay that way and not become a core part of your realm until you somehow culturally convert it to your main or an accepted culture. This is crazy. I got to rethink all sorts of things about this now.
Well, this is like a super hard break on any sort of major expansion in the early game outside of areas where you accept culture and religion.
Major expansion, yeah. Because you could do minor expansion de facto yourself, and you can still set up subjects in lands that you don't like. They're not your culture and religion. But then the problem with that is that you don't want to make the vassals too big. And if you do a major expansion, then you're either going to need to set up a bunch of small vassals or make one big one. And neither of those are usually the best thing, especially not next to each other, and especially not out there someplace where they're all nice and organized. And if one of them decides to declare independence, you're suddenly like, oh well, fuck, I got to take.
Particularly if they integrate the EU4, where Liberty Desire is calculating based on the collective strength of vassals instead of each one individually, because then it don't matter if you make one big one or a whole bunch of small ones. Their collective strength is still going to be roughly the same.
Sam, important thing to note about what you're saying there, Sam, because you're saying bigger focus on vassals and PUs. PUs don't work the same. I don't know if you know this, but PUs are, at least by default, we don't know enough about how they work, but the premise is that PUs function much more like a defensive organization, where everyone that is ruled by the same person is part of an international organization that will defend each other. But we don't know enough about how that works, and we'll have to see more. But I'm very curious to find out more, especially for my own project. If empires work similar to EU4, cultural unions become much more important. Yeah, this has got me thinking a lot about that for sure. Because how does this work with France? Like, what are France's cores? Like, we've seen the country of France, but like, how much of that land is French core?
French cores.
None.
You have no idea of France's anathema.
They have no accepted. None of the other cultures in France are accepted except Francian. And you know what? I'd believe it. If you told me that was the case, I'd believe you. Because in real life they assimilated everyone into Francian.
Yeah.
Except maybe the Occitans. But then they tried to do that too, and they're still trying to do that to this day. So
I think Occitan speakers are now like 5%.
yeah,
it's 700,000 or something like that. I can't remember.
So yeah, I don't know how this works, and that's why it makes me so curious about how much of France is a core of France, and how much of France is likely to just be like, listen, we're Barrois, we're Arpitan. We're Arpitan culture, and we just kind of want to leave now. Make our own Arpitan state. I don't know how that's going to work. Are they just stuck at integrated in most of those places? I would not be surprised at all if that was the case. I'm also curious then how it works in regards to if you want to break up some of those countries. If you look at France, you want to break it up in little pieces. How do you do that? Ottomans, Timurid integration. Oh my gosh, oh my gosh, Ryan, I didn't even think about the fact that the all the Turkish Beyliks, how much of their country is fucking Greek?
Like 50%.
So many Greeks there. And then in the east, you get the Mongols and the Turkomans and other such folks that make up a large portion of it. It's like, what the?
Yeah, I
Whew.
think we're going to see more ability to do cultural acceptance for empires and stuff like that, or at least
Don't
make it not a negative.
hold on. Doesn't when a culture is accepted, you don't convert it, do you?
No,
You only
it's just
assimilate things to your
accepted.
primary culture. You only you convert things to whatever the largest accepted or primary culture is in that location is what it assimilates things to, isn't it?
I believe is that it will default to your primary, but accepted pops will never assimilate.
So then what happens with those Turks?
For example, if the Turks accept Greeks, they will never assimilate Greek pops or any newly grown Greek pops. They will only grow each of the respective populations, I think.
And if they don't do so, if they
Then
don't
they have to
accept
do the
them,
negatives and push to assimilate them instead.
hmm, that sounds. Does that mean
But you
that
have
like
to remember as well, there's also migration pressures. So, in a place where a culture is discriminated against, like Anatolia, if the Greeks are
yeah,
not an accepted culture, there will be pressure for them to migrate to regions where there are not where they are an accepted culture. So to the other side of the Bosphorus, um, and that combined with Turkish population growth, I think may result in that kind of
yeah,
slow process of either assimilation or exodus from Anatolia, and particularly central Anatolia, by the Greeks, because even into the 19th and early 20th century, there was a sizable Greek minority in Anatolia before the Greco-Turkish population exchange.
yeah, yeah. All right. It's all just a case to me being like, oh gosh, these Turkish Beyliks, there's a lot of them that are in the west where the land is majority Greek, and that means that like what happens if your capital, yeah, you got your capital, it's in a place that's Greek. If you don't accept the Greeks, does that mean your capital's not integrated? Surely it is.
Well, you can integrate it, but you can't
Or
core
core,
it.
core. I mean, yeah, is your capital not a core? That's the
It's
question.
quite possible. It's quite possible, which I think
Yeah?
would be a really interesting dynamic
Huh.
because, yes, you have provinces which are integrated into your empire, but they are not core to your identity as a state.
Yeah. Yeah. That includes then the knights. Yeah. The Hospitaller are out on roads. That's not French. Those are Greeks. That island's
Mm-hmm.
very Greek, in fact. So, this is very interesting.
Yeah, although I would not be surprised if the Hospitaliers start with Greek as an accepted culture,
Oh, probably. Yeah. They probably do.
because even if they're Orthodox, they're at least Christians.
Yeah. I mean, and you can still religiously convert them.
Yeah,
They,
exactly.
you accept the culture, not the religion. Though there might be stuff with that too. Who knows? Anyway,
The two
interesting.
churches.
Yeah, interesting things to speculate about. All just because this notion of integrating stuff and what it means for something to be your core. being different.
Mhm.
It's very interesting to me. I like this a lot.
I am intensely interested to get my hands on this particular to see how it feels.
Yes.
Because my gut is that it's going to result in much slower expansion, particularly in the early game, where you are much more selective on what you are going to try to integrate into your kingdom. So, not so much blobbing, but strategically aiming for, okay, this is a strategic port in Pomerania, example, for Sweden. This is
Hmm.
a strategic port in the Baltics, Riga, something like that. Because it will take you all that time to integrate and actually bring those provinces up to productivity, let alone getting them to core status.
This sounds to me is that like for example, if I'm thinking about France now, if I'm playing France, my objective is then gonna be all right, kick the English out, get them fucking gone, and then all I'm doing for the next age is keeping all of my ministers on cultural assimilation and just slowly trying to integrate my subjects and convert the culture of the lands and just get better control and expand my core over time. And that's just like my entire game for the first 2 centuries, other
Which makes
than
sense
colonialism.
because even
Yeah,
despite being, one
eventually.
of the great powers of the medieval period, the Kingdom of France's borders largely stayed fairly static between, you know,
Yeah.
late 1300s to basically the modern day. It expanded a bit westward into ye olde Burgundy, in, the Alps and stuff like that, and westward into the or eastward into the Holy Roman Empire, a bit around Alsace, but otherwise it remained largely the same. So,
Gemalt, you're saying you'd waste all the powers of the cabinet doing only this for sure. I bet that's the case too, to be honest, because I keep saying it's like, surely I'm gonna have my cabinet on cultural assimilation all the time, but I don't know, because there's a lot of other things that they're able to do,
well,
and that
and a lot of countries only start with two cabinet members at the game start.
France is gonna have like three, I think,
Yeah,
because they're big, but
Some countries have more based on their size and based off their unique advances, ideas. I'm not
mm-hmm,
quite sure
yeah.
what to refer to it as, but I think France is like four, I want to say, but
I know England has three.
mhm.
Mo People by default have two, and then your size get as you yeah your rank goes up. That's more advances is more. But yeah, France's unique advances. I know one of them. I don't know if they've got one that gives them more ministers, but if they do, that's fantastic. They also have one that I know gives them more diplo capacity, which is like, damn, France is sounding like my kind of country now. Like, what the heck? You could just tons of diplo capacity and ministers. Oh, sign me up, man.
Although interestingly, this is a really interesting model of the difference between medieval France versus medieval England. England is a monoculture, you
Yeah,
know, unified state, all of it
that's all
centralized under
cores.
its crown, all of its cores,
Yeah,
versus France, which is heavily decentralized at this point, full of fiefs and various cultures. And so France is going to be spending its entire early game essentially trying to centralize. And once it centralizes, it's going to be a heck of a beast. But until
hmm,
then, puny little England is capable to basically fight it toe to toe.
yeah. Which is very it's very interesting to think about it like that because England, the only land, because like England has Wales is a vassal, but like Cornwall, I don't know, you stick a minister on Cornwall to convert it, even if you care enough, because it's so small. It's like you probably don't even need to, just leave it there. It'll convert eventually, because it's been integrated for a long time, I'm sure. But the point, like almost your whole country is just cores at game start like that. It's all your culture, your religion, and then you look at your main enemy, France, who has stupid amounts of people. But as you're saying, even though it's humongous population, they're just all different types of French. I'm very curious how that works with like France having different parts of French culture accepted or not. But yeah, because you're not going to be able to get anywhere near as many levies that way. It seems like this will make playing small nations incredibly challenging because coring will take so long. I think it's quite the opposite. I think that this makes me want to play as Milan. I very much want to play Milan or the Dutch now, for example. Because, like, I don't want to, like, what, I mean, playing as France sounds fun because you got to spend the whole game just sitting there as your large country slowly assimilating everything. But it's like, oh, if you're playing the Dutch or, like, the Milanese, it's like, what? You have so many people and they're all your culture already. Like, who cares? Just like, control the Po Valley and you're stronger than France, then I bet. Like, you'd be able to fight on par with France, I bet, if you control just the Po Valley with all those people. They're all your culture. All cores. Yeah, better advances too, probably. But playing small nations incredibly challenging for coring, taking so long. It is an interesting thought, though, because of how long it takes to core things, and the fact that you need your minister to be doing it. You need your minister to be integrating stuff, and then the actual core expanding requires your culture to have taken over the place, which is just in Southern Europe, yeah, where all the people are. That's gonna take a long time. In fact, you're probably gonna have to at that point have a minister on expel people. The interaction that just makes people want to leave the city so that you can reduce the population and so that you can assimilate it faster. I bet that's actually sounding quite appealing to me now, which is it's just a crazy thing that's kind of unhinged, but you know it makes sense based on the circumstance. All right, now continuing along, it's basically it's done now, but integrating amount, so like actually showing the progress on integration. There's 6 locations to be integrated in Aumont. Franc-Comtois. So it should be done by 1492. But when is it now? Wish I knew what the year was now. 1492. The game starts in 1337. What's the date that you're doing this at? Province governors by blood. And what are all these factors then? Stay tuned as in next week's Tinto Talks we'll talk about how peace treaties themselves work and which ones we have. Okay. And you get a little lovey-dove heart eyes then. All right. Yay, peace deals. Town. Ooh. Town gives you minus 25%. Oh. Only town is minus 25? Oh, that's going to be rough once you're getting to stuff that's classified as a city. I bet a city goes up to 50 or more then. So heaven help you if you're trying to integrate a province that has more than one city or a town in it. Ugh. Francian cultural influence versus Franc-Comtois cultural tradition. What are these? This is... Wait. They've mentioned stuff about language before. They've hinted at it. Huh. So there's something going on here. There's something going on here to do with that, but they've mentioned things that hint at the existence of language being a thing that matters in the game. But I don't know. We don't know yet. But this whole cultural influence versus cultural tradition, it's like, oh gosh. Well, we'll have to see what that means another time, though. There's not a whole lot of comments here to read through, so just skim through these, and then after these comments, we can take a gander at the India map. But it's India. It's not going to be too strange. So yeah, Conquer CB will make taking land cheaper. Yep. Yep, it's possible to take land in a humiliation war or a naval superiority war. Yeah. There's no more automatic CBs. Yeah. Still get free cores on things like the Ottomans and Constantinople through decision. Well, guys, the Ottomans should just get to, for free, convert Constantinople to Turkish culture and get it as a core. Come on. Poland's free integration on Lithuania and Castile integrating Aragon. No. No. I don't see any negatives on that either. No one's responding with disagree. Depends on the level of integration the subject had. Oh, ooh, ooh. Okay. Is integration only possible through the cabinet? What happens when you annex a subject of yours, and how do those territories start out on the scale? And this depends on the level of integration the subject had, and the cultural locations, and the type of subject. Okay. So, yeah.
All right, keep your secrets.
They won't tell us what that means exactly, but that's teasing us with the existence of levels of integration of subjects, and we already know there's types of subjects, but anyway. Oh yeah, religious casus belli creation capabilities. Yeah, if you take admin, for some reason, I don't know why they gave it to admin, but if you take the administrative focus in the first age, you're able to fabricate a religious reasons for war. Don't know why that's not in the warfare category, but okay. In almost all cases, when you do royal marriage, no land is ever exchanged. Yeah. Royal marriages just lead to personal unions, which are different. Pardon me, but this feels a little slow, as in I feel I won't be able to get any territory at productively near my starting for a lot of the campaign. Yeah, you won't be able to conquer the entirety of Western Europe in 50 years and have it cored. What a surprise! I do like how we specify, how Johan is specifying though, and have it cored. He's like, oh yeah, I mean,
Well, yeah, because you can conquer all the hell you want. It's just it won't be usable land.
he's
for
not
very
deluding
much.
himself. He's not deluding for himself for even a moment that someone wouldn't find a way to conquer all of Europe in the first 50
Well,
years of the
would be
game.
completely against the ideas of somebody like Temujin.
Mm-hmm. That's true. Because Temujin did a lot of conquering.
Timur, I meant Timurlane, but Temujin would also be correct in such a case, I guess.
You said Temujin, but I also thought Timur. I have no idea why, but you said the wrong name, and yet I picked up what you meant by it. I think it's because the way you said Temujin, and you're like that. You said something about like defeats the purpose of him, and that made me think, oh yeah, he's talking about Timur because Timur is going to be in the game. He's going to show
Yeah,
up and
I
conquer a
was
bunch of stuff.
thinking of the 1-year-old baby currently
Yeah.
existing on the Eurasian steppe.
I love that description of him. Yeah, he's just the 1-year-old on the step somewhere. Yeah, he'll show up eventually. Give him time.
He's
He'll be
coming
there.
for us all.
You will, and you won't be ready. And I look forward to it. Rest in peace. Rest in peace, Ilkhanate. You existed.
Yeah, that's about what can be said for the Ilkhanate.
Oh God, can you imagine playing as the Mongol, the Mongol family member, the member of whatever, however many great grandkid of Temujin or whatever he is at this point, sitting in that northern part of the Ilkhanate's remnants. If
Yeah, and
he conquers a bunch of
and
stuff, basically none of this land is Mongolian culture.
yeah, that's why I said particularly steppe hordes must have like a slightly different method for accepting cultures and shit.
Maybe they don't. It wouldn't surprise me. I wouldn't
Yeah.
surprise me in the least if it's just like, I don't know, the Golden Horde just doesn't consider most of that land core. It's just integrated lands, but they ain't part of the core. If you can even describe a steppe country as having a core. In fact, they're so delicate that they made a new type of government for them called army-based countries, where if you beat their army, they explode. You're going to be
That's true.
mid-independence war. You're going to be playing as Muscovy, and you're going to be using the break the Tatar yoke CB on them. And before you win the war, they're going to explode because you beat their army. I can't wait to see compilations of people being like, I destroyed the Golden Horde in 5 years by defeating their army. And then it's just Thanos snap meme. Oh, what
I
stops
imagine that
us?
Mongol tribes and hordes and whatnot probably have some sort of bonus to integrating lands better to because they said most nations will have unique advances of their own. So most likely Mongol successor states are going to have something that speeds that along.
Speeds up the integration, but they can't core it, is the thing. Yeah, because
Probably.
you can't core stuff that ain't your culture. That seems to be a pretty definitive rule. Which is kind of neat. Your culture or accepted, but we don't know how accepted cultures works, so we'll see.
We don't know a lot about cultures.
Indeed. And they keep teasing us with this hint at language being a thing for some reason. And this is the only time we've seen it impact something where it's just like it's not even saying language here, but they're just like cultural influence versus cultural tradition, and it's like, what is all this nebulous stuff going on here?
I
How does this
really
work?
want to hurry up and see cultures so that we can actually plan those out more.
Yeah, because every day I'm going into that GIMP file and adding new cultures and countries to the map, and when I see things like this, and it's like, oh shit, huh? Damn, that one country I made up is supposed to have a primary culture that's different from most of the land it owns, and it's like, oh, how does that impact the game? Oh no, I gotta rethink this a bit. But and that's why I was talking about like the Turks. Is like the Turks. Most of those Turkish factions are going to own land that is like not core. Which is just fuck the Eretnids have so many non-Turkish people there, but I think they're majority Turks. I'm pretty sure the majority of their counties are Turks. Though the Eretnids are a whole other problem because they're like the vassals of someone else in the east, and then they have their own vassals, and the levels of feudalism are weird and it's confusing. Oh, fuck me. But yeah, what stops us from engaging in prime border gore? Would there be a penalty for taking provinces in a way that allows snaking? No, you can do it in the peace deal. It's just you don't really want to because control and proximity makes that not ideal. So yeah, makes sense. You don't want to be snaking so much. I could see there being a situation where you snake to fuck over someone else's control though, and that scares me. I don't know how that would work, but it does somewhat scare me the thought that you could saw a country in half. It's like, how does that flex tape moment? like Brandenburg. Brandenburg's a good example. They have a big old exclave to their west that is just like barely connected. But mind you, I get the suspicion that the HRE bullshits. I kind of think that they cheat due to the fact that Austria is split into 9 pieces. Austria is in 9 pieces in EU5. So I think that there's probably some way that the HRE cheats with that. The majority of the ethnic Turks of Asia Minor in the East. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, um, let me pull up Anatolia feedback real quick. Yeah, just brief look at this again. Look, these are the people out in the West. Oh no, that we don't see the cultures here on this one, do we? Oh yeah, there we do. All right. Culture and the states. Colored wasteland states. So here's the states compared to the cultures. Look at this. The Ottomans. A good 75% of the Ottomans' territory is Greek.
Our Greek majority, yeah.
Which is just what? So many of this, so many of these people. You got Turkomans here. It's like what are the Sahibids like? Are they a Turkoman country? Probably not. Which means that none of their countries core either. There's a little bit of Turkish there.
Cappadocia must have a country somewhere unreleased.
I think you're gonna have to release a subject as Karaman if you want that to happen. I'm sure you can play as Karaman and then just, like release. You can. We know something about like releasing countries based on provinces. So like you can you have to release them in like a
Also, I forgot, but I really hope they rename that Western Anatolia to Ionia.
Yeah. Yeah. That would work. That'd be nice. But anyway. Close that. But point made, yeah, as you're saying, James, the Turks are all in the East. I mean, there's lots of Turks in the West too, but most of the people in the West are Greeks, and a lot of the people in the East are Greeks too, because a lot of those countries have large minorities of Greeks. But the main thing is, the majority is what matters. You need it to be a majority, a culture you accept, or your primary culture. So either you got to. I mean, it's probably a very good idea to accept Greek culture. To be honest, if you accept the Greeks, that's probably a good call. Problem with that is that
I wonder if you accept the Greeks, you core the province, and then you disaccept the Greeks. What happens? Do you get to keep the cores, or will the cores go away after a time?
yeah, what happens if you get immigration and suddenly you have a county, just any county, it's a majority culture that's not something you accept? What happens then?
Yeah, I'm just thinking in the context of I absolutely see some people trying to accept a culture simply so they can get the cores faster, and then they're going to demote the culture, to use EU4 terminology.
I bet that specifically the act of unaccepting pops will instantly make anything that is majority their culture uncored. But what I'm curious about is specifically when it comes down to it just passively happens that something you already don't accept takes over.
The Jedi are taking over!
Yeah. You just get a mass migration of fucking Pontic people in Bulgaria or something. I don't know. What happens then?
Play as the Pontics.
All the Pontics showing up? Like, what happened? I guess you just lose control. Sorry, buddy.
We're losing control. We're going down.
Glad to see that separatism only arises from non-primary pops. In EU4, it feels awkward when playing as Karabakh. Conquer the Armenian
That's the
provinces.
Armenian minor.
Yeah, yeah. So you get you were playing as Karabakh, and then there's separatism in those counties that want to release the Armenian country that you are trying to form, instead of being like, no, no, we're good. Yeah. I I mean, I guess, and they're not making like a North English culture because they thought about it and they showed people what it would look like, and it just doesn't really work. So you're not going to have a situation where the north of England is like, yeah, we want to leave. We want to stop being part of England because they're happy being part of England. It's just that they can have issues with wanting more autonomy or something. And that kind of makes sense. But, yeah, I don't know. That's when you get that's when the question for me becomes things like, well, what happens with like distinctive cultural groups that develop over time? I don't know. Like we're not gonna have like divergent cultures. So, but oh well. Abstraction needs to meet its end at some point. Not quite sure what's different from EU4. You'll be able to force peace at 100% war score even though you occupy maybe 25% of the country and have won most of the battles. Yeah, it's always more expensive to take things that aren't in the war goal. And we'll see more about that next week when we talk about peace deals, yeah. I think that's part of the system. Early game you'll be able to expand slowly and mostly within your culture group, but using tons of subjects may speed that up. Then eventually it will pick up as the action itself gets more powerful and you can accept more cultures. It sure feels like a great tool for curbing snowballing and making you feel extra powerful in the first 100 years. So you get bored of the campaign. Yeah. But Johan's just not talking about what culture groups do. So I really want to know that. Like, what if they let you have something that's a core in your culture group? How does it like? I don't know. I just need to see more, I guess. They're not going to explain that here.
A lot of this, I think, we'll need to just kind of see how it plays in practice.
Mm-hmm. Because there's things like that. I mean, I could ask. I mean, I can always just post a question in the forum, and be like, hey, it's like, what about culture groups? And it's like, well, they're not telling us what culture groups are. They're not going to say shit yet. And it's stuff like that that's just obscure. It's an obscure enough question where they're not able to give us the answer now, and we're just, by the time that they would be able to answer the question, well, no. Recovering stability in Project Caesar is more similar to EU3 than 4. It's a matter of time, not mana spending. There are narratives from events and situations and disasters that can give you CVs. Makes sense? Makes sense? How do you become aggressive leaders? Yeah, just attack. Yeah, aggressive leader, just like, I don't know, be petty and be like, yeah, that guy insulted me, so I have a claim. Or if they're not doing anything against you, then just attack them anyway. Just be aggressive and take the hit. For manual creation of CBs, you need to make them with spies. Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah, the more they talk about this, yeah, having good spies sounds like it'd actually be useful. Because people need to use spies even to create a core reclamation CB on you. So just be good at defending against spies, I guess. Hmm. This is when I need to invent the fantasy spy country. Yes. Yes. Maybe some sort of holy order that worships some spy, sneaky person. I don't know. Hmm. Impossible without the cabinet. You need the cabinet to integrate stuff. Yeah. Can a Wargle? Yeah, there's nothing at the moment that is like this Wargle blocks you from taking land. Yeah, that makes sense. Integration takes from 25 to 50 years. That's like 1/10 of the whole game at maximum, man. But in EU3, it took 50 years. Wow, that's crazy. But yeah, integrating stuff is not going to be cheap. It's going to take a long time for you to integrate things and then culturally convert things. Yeah, yeah.
EU4 Conquest players in shambles indeed.
Agreed, Gamals.
But
uh,
the flip side to this actually is there is no artificial overextension mechanic.
yes.
You don't go over 100% overextension and suddenly the realm starts spontaneously collapsing. Theoretically, if you can stay on top of your runaway train, your Jenga tower of a crumbling state with all this conquered land that's not integrated, which has pissed off people, you can conquer to the ends of the world. And the people that you just conquered in Germany will not get any more pissed at you for conquering all the way to China.
Yeah, which is good. That's good. If you somehow manage it effectively, set up vassals in the right places, you know, vassalize who you need to vassalize to keep control, focus on integrating what you haven't, and appease them, I guess, with whatever events you have and the like. Uh, and you'll be able to conquer just an absolute ton of land and keep it together. But it won't be very useful land for a very long time. You'll
Yeah, but
basically
I don't think the people looking for a map painting particularly care too much about that one. I've talked with more than one, and they just want to see big name.
yeah,
Big name.
yeah, yeah. I, I I don't have a problem with people still being able to map paint if especially if it's not very useful. If their map blobbing is like, well, it's not the most effective thing you could be doing. Like, well, I don't have a problem that the game hasn't literally stopped that from being possible. It's just not a great idea. Like, yeah, more power
Mhm.
to you if you choose to do it. I'm gonna sit here, slowly expanding with vassals and building tall primarily, that sort of thing. Yeah. And then maybe having fun sometimes, just blobbing out like crazy with tons of vassals, and or maybe no vassals at all, and forcibly integrating and culturally converting everyone. Ah. Buy blood is a policy in the law. Okay. Hmm. If you lose an integrated cord province to rebels or war, do I need to integrate it again? Oh God, you need to integrate it again. Your integration level will slowly tick down every month. Oh God. Oh. Oh, that's rough, man. At least culture world conquest seems impossible. Religion too. I'm sure someone will make it work, right? I don't know. We'll have to see. CB on an entire area would be worse for you in taking it. Ah. Yeah, because you'd be declaring a CB, and it's like, you need to control that entire state, the entire region. It's more difficult. Yeah, there's no real reason for them to do that. That's just a worse version of Conquer County. Right. If you decide to use the best CB, meaning no CB, does that mean there will be no war goal to fulfill? So you'll have to rely more on general aggression to extract the peace deal you want. Huh. Yeah. No CB. So there's no war goal. Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. Hmm. It seems we really need more than 2 cabinet members at the beginning of the game. Johan asks, why? 25 respectfully disagree. I'm gonna, yeah, laughing at that. Oh, this is great. All the people who wanted to paint the map really quick are just in shambles indeed. They're just here like, I need at least 5 of these cabinet ministers at the beginning of the game like this. This is terrible. Okay, yeah. Accepted cultures never convert, as accepted cultures are part of your nation. Yeah, that makes sense. Damn, a lot of people don't like that. What the hell does it mean that you accept the culture? If the culture, like, that's that's like saying, like, well, yeah, obviously Quebec should be getting assimilated into the Canadian culture, right? They're an accepted culture, but they should be converted anyway, right?
All shall
No.
become.
Quebec is actually, now that I think about it, Quebec is a good example of what accepting a culture does, because it doesn't get it's that doesn't permanent that doesn't like get rid of the idea of them being a separate country, because they're a different culture, so they can still have separatists, but they can be a core part of your country, and they don't get assimilated. Yeah, it is exactly how Imperator does it. Yeah, I know you keep bringing it up. You keep bringing up Armos, how Imperator does things, and yeah, it's just another example of taking things from Imperator. And I wonder how much though, because we don't know how accepted cultures work, but how much you want to guess, Armos? I don't. I assume Dark and Vector don't know anything really about how Imperator does it, but how much you want to bet, Armos, that cultural like accepting cultures in EU5 is going to have that same thing that it does in Imperator, where it takes a lot of time. Like it's a process that you start to accept a culture, and then once you do accept that culture, the more cultures you have accepted decreases the average satisfaction. Because I think they're going to take some, they're going to do some twist on that. They're going to take that baseline and adjust it for this game, especially with how everything is like it takes time. You make the decision to start doing something, and it's going to take a long time to actualize. Yeah. Maybe accepted cultures has some levels. Yeah, aren't they talking about doing that in Vic? Isn't that the plan, that Vic is going to have levels to cultural acceptance?
Yeah, they're going to rework how the discrimination system works,
Yeah, which is very good. Please.
even if it sounds cursed to say.
Yeah. It's like, yeah, discrimination and assimilation and all of that stuff just does not work right now. Good old Vic, just continuing to impress people with its ability to be mediocre as heck and to be false advertising, basically. But yeah, CBs. Okay. Modding purposes, we can just script up various CB and war goal types. Except CBs, rather than spelling out a specific war goal, now require a list of possible war goals. Okay. Well, that's gonna be fun. Can I have it? Could you give me the code, please? Guys? Johann, gib please give code. Given that integrating a province can take 50 years, can we pause it? Yes, it can be paused. Oh god. Yeah. Okay. This is good. Thank you. I don't need to keep them there for yeah, half a century. Especially if, there's a good chance that they'll die in that time. This is like you've assigned someone to the integration process and it's gonna take more than their lifetime. If a cabinet member dies, all that happens is the progress is a bit slower until you assign a new member. That's true for all cabinet actions. Okay, that makes sense. And it even still works. So your action that you put in place will still keep happening even if while you don't have a new member assigned. Just slower. Makes sense to me. I assume in that case it basically functions as as just it being done with a character that has no stats. Did you have a 0-0, a 0-0 character doing it? So like it's very bad, but still been done. Huh. All right. Separatism, production of satisfaction. Some time. Cultural religion already gets that. Separatism on top of it. Oh, geez. We've been going for like an hour and a half now. This might have been going on long enough where we'll have to do the map of India another time still and keep putting it off because this is a big one. This has been a big topic today.
Push it forward.
Push it forward. It goes. It'll happen. Do the current tags start with all their own locations 100% cord, or will different tags have different levels of integration? No. Yeah, many locations have conquered status and some at integrated. Yeah. Again, I'm sure that a lot of those Belyuks will just have integrated capitals. Oh, what you Armas? You really want the India map today? Okay. Well, maybe. Maybe I'll think about it. I don't know. This has been going on for a long time, though. Cultural state-specific advancements that make integration faster or slower. Nice, nice. Yeah, they'll talk about cultural influence later in the autumn. Yeah, overextension does not exist. The lack of control and separatism makes it unnecessary. Yep, it just solves it in a much more rational way. I do love though the fact that we have so many of these like things that like the people who are really stuck in the EU4 mindset are just so convinced that anytime there's something like a talking about a mechanic like this, they're like, oh yes, control and integration. The natural thing to think from an EU4 player standpoint, and I'm somewhat of a victim of this too, is the idea of, oh well, obviously this is something new being added on. Everything else in the game stays the same, but this is a new system. Because that's like the entire story of EU4 is just add to something new. Here's another new system, another one, another one. It just gets slapped on top. But here, this is actually changing things. Well, Hmm. Hmm. What do you guys what do you two think?
Think about what?
I think we
Um,
do India Friday with the other one that's coming up.
all right. What one's that?
I'm easy.
Do you want to know?
Yes.
Just a step.
I'm
Oh.
easy.
So then, yeah, the steppe and India. Oh boy. Huh. Well, I do work Friday. It'll work. You work? You work Friday, Dark?
Yep.
God damn it. Oh. We'll figure it out. God damn it. But I suppose we will end. We will end this here then. What did I get a notification? What was that? Don't do India. Do East Africa again. Okay, buddy. Okay. Sure. Anyway, uh, we will be ending this here then. We'll figure out when we can do the Tinto map another time. But for now, thank you all for watching us discussing this thing, Conquest, and I hope to see you in the next time. Bye bye.